So again, welcome everybody to Active Brain University, and today we're going to talk about the art of verbal judo and how to use this to diffuse business conflict through conversation. And you see me at the bottom here. You guys get to hear from me all the time here at Active Brain University. Super excited today about our guest. And our guest is Alex Popovic. He's a realtor with Remax Omni Consultants in Scottsdale, Arizona. You can check him out on Twitter there at @AlecPopovic. Alec, how you doing, my friend?
Good, Bob. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Yeah, you know what? I'm super excited to have you today. We've been talking about this. We've been working through this thing for a little while, and so I'm excited to just dive in and let everybody kind of learn some of this stuff. So why spend the next 60 minutes with us? And you're mainly going to be hearing from Alex today as he talks us through some of the concepts behind verbal judo, what this stuff means, and how you can apply it and use it in your business. So a little bit about Alex. And so when we bring somebody like Alex on, and many of you guys may not know Alex or know his background, I think it's important for him to kind of establish to us why what he's talking about is something that he's qualified to speak on. So Alex, we got a couple of photos up here of you. One is pretty obvious. The other one not so obvious what you're doing and what you are there, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Bob, thanks for having me. And folks, thanks to everyone out there in Active Brain. It's a pleasure to meet you all. For those of you who read my blog, I greatly appreciate it, and what a great community we're a part of. So a little bit about myself. We can see me there on the left. I used to be a police officer with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department in Las Vegas. I spent 10 years in special operations in the Marine Corps, particularly in a force reconnaissance company as a sniper. And we used to have to learn the art of how to hide, blend, and deceive as snipers. And that's something we're going to kind of talk about here, about how you need to get to the goal of what you want to do in a business dialogue with someone who's definitely being maybe a maybe person or difficult or is giving you some resistance. I've been schooled extensively through the FBI and law enforcement realms and schools and things like that about the art of verbal judo. And the first time I really heard about it was when I was there on the left as a police officer. I was in the academy right when September 11th happened. So as the towers were collapsing, we had just started our range day, or how to start shooting firearms and stuff like that. And shortly thereafter, we were given a class called verbal judo, and I thought to myself, what the heck is verbal judo? And how does this relate to me as being a police officer? After going through the class and seeing the applicability of it, I was thrown on the streets of Las Vegas and had all these tools in my belt, but didn't know when to use them or how to use them effectively. And some of my training officers started telling me about using verbal judo. I saw that they would diffuse situations that were either contentious or had the potential to go sideways very quickly. So I started thinking to myself, there's got to be a better way. I need to tap back into what I was taught, the art of verbal judo, what it is, what it isn't, and when to use it. Then further on, after 9/11, I was called back to active duty in 2002 after I'd gotten out. And in 2002, I was attached to a unit where we were doing work in Afghanistan and Iraq. And that's a picture of me in the right. We had to hide, blend, and deceive to sometimes look like, I hate to use this word, but the terrorists, in order to buy us time and to survive out there, and really use verbal judo, the art of camouflage, and things like that. I used it extensively when I founded my company as a CEO that I had for 10 years that I recently sold. And I was sitting around going absolutely crazy and decided to go back to school for my MBA down here and also become a realtor because I love the art of the deal. So that's a little bit about me, guys. I'm not here to sell you anything or have you buy stuff. It's purely, hey, if I can teach you something and give you guys tools that will enable you to get through a closing, or perhaps when you're sitting with a client whose house you want to list, but they're being a little bit, pushbacking with you and stuff like that, and you're getting a little nervous, your palms are getting sweaty, you really want this listing, it's a beautiful house, you need to be able to understand, how do I use this in order to gain a favorable outcome and get through the art of the negotiation to get the deal.
So you've given us your background. These are skills that you acquired as a police officer, that you developed as special forces. Tell me at a 30,000-foot view now, what is verbal judo, or give me a little bit about verbal judo.
Sure. So looking at it from a quick snapshot from like 30,000 feet, guys, verbal judo is basically a set of principles, okay? And you might be thinking to yourself, why is it called verbal judo? You're going to see here shortly why and what the difference is between, let's say, verbal judo and verbal karate. It's basically a set of what I call TT&Ps, and if you want to write that down, it stands for tactics, techniques, and procedures, common term that we use, and it's going to help you better communicate and use your communicative skills and understanding negative or verbal assaults that may be directed toward you, either directly or indirectly. You know, sometimes we're in the art of the deal and you're nervous or you miss certain things because your phone's ringing, or, you know, there's certain keywords that the other side may say that you missed that could dynamically change the way things go in your negotiations. So it's important to be able to understand what it is. It's been time tested on the streets by police officers, by law enforcement, both pre-9/11 and post-9/11. And really what it's going to do, it's going to get you out of the quicksand, and you're going to hear that term again. You might want to write that down, and springboard you to where you need to be, which is your goal. Where do I need to be as a realtor? Where do I want to go, and how do I get there? You'll hear more about this later. But in business and real estate, you need to use these principles to be successful, I think, and to manage your time effectively. I think all of us are sometimes pulled in 20 different directions in a day. Sometimes the art of negotiating can make the difference between getting the deal, perhaps losing it, perhaps, you know, losing a big commission, maybe getting sued, things like that. So it's really important from that aspect.
Okay, so you mentioned this already. We got two types of language, verbal judo and verbal karate. And if you guys know anything about the arts of judo and karate, they're quite a bit different. And I think we start to see that as Alex explains verbal karate to us first, which is not what we're going to be talking about, but I think it's important to see kind of the difference between these two styles of communication. So tell me about verbal karate.
So verbal karate, guys, karate is basically an old Eastern principle from the Asian countries that uses mainly striking, kicking, punching, things you need to do to knock down an opponent right now. So it's very brute force type. It's very in your face. When you compare it to using words, it could best be equated to unprofessional, using words that either aren't professional through the course of business or dealing with clients, or maybe you're sitting in an open house. It expresses personal feelings. A lot of narcissists refer to I or me or I'm so good, or I like to bloviate about how good a deal I am and how good a realtor I am. That's all verbal karate. It doesn't keep you in contact for where you need to get to with the client. On the flip side of that, okay, we have verbal judo. Okay, judo literally means, the Ju in judo means gentle and do means way. So judo means literally the gentle way, or using what's being thrown at you to effectively maneuver and not have to use the kicking, punching, things of that nature, and instead deflect and use the other person's force of what they're giving you to deflect it effectively and get to an end state, which is what? Perhaps, like I said, close a deal, negotiate effectively. Maybe we're negotiating during inspection period, right? How many of us have been there and you're negotiating things and you just can't seem to get past that agent to get certain things or concessions that your client wants in order to make this deal go forward? If you understand verbal judo, but more importantly that other person, it can get you over that hump to springboard you to where you need to get. So really there's two types of languages, okay guys, and you might want to write this down. There's tactical language, which are words shaped to achieve the goal in front of you, okay? You never want to express your feelings on the job or during the deal, ever, period. We as real estate agents have a fiduciary responsibility, do we not, to our clients to represent their interest in the art of the deal. This is about them. It's not about us or how good we are or how good we think we are. It's about purely getting to the end state for what our clients' intentions are, okay? You never want to express your feelings, of course, unless they're positive, and you want to say what you have to say to get the job done. The keep it simple principle, KISS, okay? So if tactical language or verbal judo is effective, then that suggests that then verbal karate is ineffective, okay? So if it makes you feel good, don't say it. Don't ever say it during a deal or with a client, no matter how buddy-buddy or friendly you are with your client. If it makes you feel good, don't say it, okay? We know about chameleons, right, guys? And I hit on this earlier, the ability to hide, blend, and deceive when we were snipers and all that stuff. That is all the tactics and techniques and procedures we used in order to survive. You can apply those same tactics, okay, when you're negotiating, and particularly when you're using words in the art of the deal, or what I like to call the art of combat, because you're combating for your interests of your client, okay? We want to get a meeting of the minds here, some common ground to get something accomplished through negotiations, through to the art of the deal, by using verbal judo and not verbal karate, okay? You guys need to learn how to adapt to your environment, and you might have to do this on several levels during the course of a day because you have different deals, okay? You might be dealing with a commercial property or a rental property, and all of these have different dynamics and different people you're dealing with, so you need to understand how hard do I need to push with verbal judo to accomplish what I need to get done through the course of a day, all right? You have to learn how to adapt, and you have to learn how to adapt to each individual, to each scenario individually, okay? This is the essence of what I mean by verbal judo. Never, ever, ever get upset during negotiations. I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I just had it happen to me last week. I was involved in a deal, guys, where I started to feel myself getting upset because I was losing what I felt was the edge during the art of negotiations, and you can't ever, ever let yourself get upset. It's nothing personal. You need to stay focused, okay, with difficult people or people who are making the art of the deal or negotiating more difficult. Okay, you need to get more polite with difficult people. And for those of you that read my blog, you saw me use the word, you get a lot more with honey than you do with vinegar. Pour on the honey liberally, okay? There's a time and a place for the vinegar, and we're going to get to that here in a little bit. Okay, I like to call it tactical civility, where you maintain contact. During the art of the deal, if we don't maintain contact, we're going to lose the edge, and you're going to lose that deal potentially, okay? All these steps that we're going to cover and the use of professional words to achieve this will enable us to get past that difficult person or that difficult agent, okay, who's pushing really hard and pushing back on everything you say, and you can sense that there's that tension in the air. The deal has the potential of being lost. You're trying everything. You're capitulating to their needs. Your tone's nice, but still they keep pushing back at you. What do we need to do, okay? So basically, verbal judo is the use of words to achieve professional objectives, okay? And in this case, in real estate, our professional objectives is the interest of our client and getting the deal done for our client, getting them that house, that condo, whatever it might be, okay? So I mentioned a little bit about being in contact with your audience. You need to understand who your audience is, okay? Who am I dealing with? What type of person? One of the things that was taught to me early on was there are 3 types of people in this world. And if you want to write this down, these are the only types of people you will ever run across with in the world. They are yes people, no people, and a maybe person, okay? Yes, no, and maybe. A yes person, we know where we stand with them. Whatever we say, they're going to say, yep, great, I love it. Get me over the contract. It's a great deal. My client's got it. Yep, let's make this happen. Boom, done. You close escrow 30 days later and you're happy. The no person, we also know where we stand with them. They've definitely dug in their heels during whatever you're doing as an agent, and you know definitely you have an uphill battle. With both, you know where you stand. With the yes person, you definitely know where you stand. With a no person, you definitely know where you stand. The difficulty in all of this becomes with that maybe person. And this is where when we're negotiating deals and discussing real estate and working with contracts, this is where that gray area gets a lot of agents in trouble because they don't understand how to use words correctly or use verbal judo correctly, okay? Remember earlier I said you have tactical language, which is verbal judo. Natural language, which is verbal karate, gets us in trouble. We do this every day. Everyone sitting on here has your natural language. When you're with your friends, your family, whatever you do, natural language works in your natural life and during the course of the day, but it doesn't work in the business world. So then that suggests we need to use tactical language or verbal judo, okay? If one's ineffective, then the other one must be effective. And it's effective because it's been proven, both on the streets, okay, both in the business world, and we'll get to that here a little bit more.
Alex, when you say in contact with your audience, obviously I need to understand who they are, what type of person they are. I mean, does this also mean that I need to make sure like I understand where they're coming from, that I want to like, does this have anything to do with like constant communication or being available and being close or?
Good question, Bob. It doesn't mean being available, being close, or having your phone handy so as soon as they call, you're able to stay in contact. It's during the art of the deal. When you're actually in the weeds discussing whatever is important in keeping this deal moving forward, you need to stay in contact with them because you need to assess what their intent is, okay, what they're saying, okay, big difference between what they say and what they mean. And we're going to discuss that here further down the line. But you need, by staying in contact with them during the art of negotiations and not getting distracted with the phone or slipping back into non-verbal judo, okay, natural language, becoming unprofessional, using incorrect words, using I or me, and not keeping in check the fact that you have a responsibility here to your client to accomplish whatever it is that you're negotiating for, okay? That's what I mean by staying in contact, because you need to get to where you want to get for whatever it is that's important to you to get this deal done, okay?
Got it.
And that's what I mean by staying in contact. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to have skillful communication, guys, as this slide says on there, okay? It comes back to tactical language and natural language. Tactical language is skillful communication, all right? It's the ability to see a verbal attack coming or something coming from left field in order to be able to deflect it, okay? Use it effectively and springboard yourself to where you want to get to, and then apply other methods that we're going to discuss here further on down the line. You do this by staying focused. You need to stay focused, okay? I know we have a lot of distractions. I know we have a lot of things in our minds. Most of us have a couple phones going off at the same time. How many of you have been out there where you're with an agent and you're in a deal or something very important and you see them checking their phone every 30 seconds? Does that drive you crazy? It drives me absolutely nuts. It tells me they're not focused, okay, that they have other things in their mind. So I could probably pretty easily have my way with this person verbally if I needed to get something accomplished right then and there. Within 3 to 5 minutes, I could probably use these techniques in order to be able to gain a favorable leverage for my client above and beyond what they already wanted. And I know some of you are out there saying, yeah, right, Alex, rolling your eyes and laughing and saying, uh-huh. But we see it all the time, do we not? You need to stay focused on your target, what's important right now, in order to be able to apply these techniques.
So one of the things about these techniques that it sounds like is not only can you use them to your advantage, but if you're not aware of them, they could potentially be used against you.
Absolutely, and we're going to discuss that down the line. You know, one of the things that really worried me was when I first heard verbal judo, I was like, yeah, right. And I got done with a class that was given to us when we were going through the police academy, and I thought, that is an excellent class. It has some applicability, and they showed us how. They showed us confrontations with clients and with individuals on the streets in all different types of levels. And then when I didn't apply it and I saw other people using it effectively, a couple fellow police officers said, why don't you use verbal judo? And a lot of times you're scared to step out of your box. You're scared to try something new, or the applicability of it for the mere fact of you might look stupid, or instead of looking like the professional that we are in the real estate world, you might say something incorrectly. This, like anything else, guys, takes practice. And I'm here to tell you, when you work on it enough, you are going to see that you're able to get past those difficult situations. But if you don't focus, it can definitely be turned on you by someone else who knows these just as well as you do. And some of the best people in the world who use this are orators. You know, how many of us have been to a lecture or walked into a situation where you completely disagreed with that person? 100%, you're in a 180-degree direction from that person about either a belief they had or something that they wanted to do, and you leave there and you're like, wow, I changed my mind. I agree with that person. They just pulled verbal judo on you, okay? They literally, over the course of time, pulled verbal judo on you, okay? So that's what we're talking about. For those of you taking notes, I commonly use the triple me method. And what is the triple me method? You want to write this down. Maximum effectiveness and maximum efficiency using minimal effort. Let me say that again. Maximum effectiveness and maximum efficiency using minimal effort. And how does that apply to us as realtors? Our time's important, right? I think everyone here would agree that when you get busy, it's like turning that fire hydrant on and you are drinking from it. And you say to yourself, wow, how am I going to fit all this in one day? And you have to get it all done. You have to go to closing. Today's the close of escrow. You have to do this. You have to do that. So our time becomes important. I like to equate us to, I hate using this terminology, but almost like attorneys who bill by the hour. Their time's important. Well, as realtors, our time's important too, because it translates into efficiency and it translates into deals being closed and us ultimately making money, okay? So you want to use maximum effectiveness of your time by being efficient as maximum as you can with minimal effort, or verbal judo, okay? Pick and choose your battles. Know what's important to you and apply this to any given situation to be able to leverage this concept to get through that day or that art of that deal that's going to be difficult. You might get bogged down in a deal for 3 or 4 hours that you were like, wow, I only allocated 1 hour's worth of time for this today in order to get through this listing appointment or meeting with this client to renew this this agreement after the house didn't sell for the last 6 months, and you know it's going to get uncomfortable. They're going to yell at you, you know, why haven't you sold my house? And, you know, the price was wrong, and, you know, make you look like you did nothing wrong. You need to be able to plan for using verbal judo effectively so it doesn't bleed over into a 4-hour meeting, and instead you get accomplished what you need to get done with an end result and an end game. Does that make sense, Bob?
Yep, makes sense to me. All right, so keep calm and mushin. What is mushin?
So guys, mushin literally means, okay, it means no mind or staying calm under an assault. It's an old Japanese proverb, okay? Staying calm or weathering the assault, okay? So I want you to think of yourself as a star in the center of the universe. You're a real estate agent. You are a star, and you're going to see how this is going to apply here shortly. Okay, when you're being berated or assaulted verbally during negotiations, or people are just pushing back on whatever you say, maybe they're a maybe person, but now they're definitely leaning toward a no person. You're in contact with that other agent, and whatever you say, nope, my client doesn't want that. Nope, my client doesn't want that. You need a different tactic, okay? When you start hearing that, you need to start saying to yourself, okay, maybe I need to apply verbal judo here. I need to apply these fundamentals. I need to keep calm, and I need to stay centered. Okay? The English translation literally of mushin is probably something like the word disinterested. Okay? Never take anything personal, like I said. Don't get angry. Don't raise your voice. Stay calm. Seem disinterested. Be quiet inside. Weather the attack. Focus on what's important to you. Whose interest do we have at the end of the day? The client, right? We need to stay focused on the client. The importance of staying calm allows you to stay focused, okay, about what that end state is, and let the other agent lose his calm or her calm and be unprofessional. We are unprofessional. We don't do verbal karate. We do verbal judo, okay? Deflecting
Alex, if I could just interject, I don't know, I've never been a police officer, but I've watched a show like Cops or something, and I always think to myself, man, how can that guy just sit there and take this, like you see people just act so crazy with police officers, but in our regular lives, people don't necessarily get that angry or that crazy, but they definitely get mad or they raise their voice, or that there's, especially when you're dealing with something like selling somebody's house, or you're dealing with another agent who stands to lose a commission. Our tensions get up, and I think most people, we don't think about remaining centered, keeping our clients' interests in mind. Like you start to get wrapped into the emotions of the other person. And
yeah,
so this
exactly.
is just so important to be able to realize, like, okay, just keep calm. This is not directed at me. I have an objective in mind. At the end of the day, it would seem like this would take a lot of practice. Like you wouldn't just be able to say, okay, I know these principles, now I could just apply them. Like you literally have to continue to remind yourself of these principles.
And Bob, you're exactly right. It comes back to what I was saying, guys. You need to practice this over time, and you're going to become good, I promise you. Let me give an example. It's gotten to the point with me where you almost flip a switch and you put a hat on and off. You put the real estate hat on, you remain centered and calm and very, almost like monotone, I want to equate it to. And I saw this with a lot of cops. You feel like, you see a lot of cops who had a badge and a gun, and they feel so empowered and they can do anything to anyone they want. Oh yeah, you swore at me? Screw you, watch this. I'm going to go and start doing verbal karate on you. I'm going to pull out my nightstick and just beat you up. When it's nothing personal. They're either under the influence of some kind of narcotic or a drug or something like that, or alcohol. It's nothing personal, okay? It's not at you. It's directed toward that authoritative badge that you have on your chest. That's where you need to stay centered and focused, because the attack can come at any time, okay? If you let your emotions get into this, okay, the deal can, the attack on your deal that you potentially have, that you've been working on, can come at any time. Emotions go up, we used to hear and say, reasoning goes down. So as your emotions go up, guys, your reasoning goes down, or the ability to work through things effectively. So if that's happening and you see an attack coming, you need to learn how to deflect, okay? And what is deflection? There's benefits to it, okay? This is kind of the main things of the benefits of deflection and how to handle it, all right? Let's say you're getting assaulted verbally by an agent or something like that, and it might be very subtle. Guys, this doesn't have to be an in-your-face type scenario. A lot of agents are very good business people and can speak very well, okay? You need to pick up on those nuances and those subtleties that can derail that deal, or is an attack against your deal or your offer that you have, and be able to get past that to get to your end state, okay, to keep this deal alive, to maintain contact during the deal, and then finally to close the deal, okay? The benefits of deflection: it allows you to deflect the assault, all right? In this case, it could be against other agents, okay? It could be against a counteroffer that just came to you on the house that you've listed with your client. It could be a multitude of reasons. You need to move forward past that and maintain contact. Write these down. These are going to be 4 key phrases, all right, that I want you to use. And keep in mind, this isn't the way. This is a way, guys. And this is what was taught to me. And over the years, I've used different phrases to effectively get to what we're doing. I appreciate that, ... but. Okay? I understand that, ... but. Here we have however, because we just wanted to change it up to show you. You can kind of interject different words. I hear what you're saying, and that shouldn't be there. It should just say, I hear what you're saying, ... although. And then finally, I get or I understand how you feel, ... have you considered. These are all food for thought with the other sayings. The main word I want you to focus on is the but. So you can put, instead of however, you can put but, and I want you to get in the habit when you first start doing this, use the word but. I appreciate that, but. I understand that, but. Okay? Delivery in this is everything, guys. You need to know how to deliver this, and it represents about 93% of verbal language. Okay? For example, for those of you that wrote it down and it says, I hear that, but, I want you guys to circle the but on your piece of paper. Go ahead and circle the but. That's your focus word when you start seeing the attack coming, or someone that's a maybe person in the art of negotiations, or definitely a no person. Okay? Everything after the but must be professional language from you. No unprofessional language, period. Nothing. No I, no me, no, no raising of the voice, no swear words, nothing. Everything after that must be professional language. Okay? Aim with the goal of discourse. That is key. Your goal here in saying this phrase is you're not happy with something, so you're going to create discourse. That's the key here, guys. The aim here is to create discourse with whatever's been thrown your way. This is the art of deflection. Staying focused, keeping in mind your clients. Something's been thrown your way, a wrench in the works that potentially your client's going to say no to. You need to deflect this and get back to what's going to keep this deal going and moving forward. Okay? In this case, the discourse is verbally changing a situation that isn't beneficial to you or your client, and you want to get past that. Okay? What is your goal? Stay focused. You need to do this, and only you can do this.
Alex, let's play this out for a second for me. So because the agents are getting this kind of thing all day long, right? I mean, you're
Sure.
getting it from other agents, you're getting it from your client, you're getting it from people you hope to be your client. So can we role play this for just a second?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're essentially looking for the attack. You're on the lookout, the assault, whatever we want to call it. So I'll play your client. Let's say you're coming in to list my house, and here comes the attack, right? And the attack is, but the last agent that was in here said they could do all these things, and the house still isn't sold.
Okay, so let's break that down. You need to see what just happened there, guys, and you're going to see this more as we talk here a little bit quicker down the line here. But you're basically you need to see past what they're saying and what they mean. So say again what you just said, Bob.
The last agent that was in here said he'd do all these same things, and my house still didn't get sold.
So they're saying, here's what they're saying to you. The last agent said all these things and did all this stuff, and the house still never sold. That's what they're saying to you. But what do they mean? Okay? You need to get to the root of what do they mean. So they mean that their house never sold and they're frustrated. We can see that. Okay? We can see that they mean that we can hear it in his voice that he's frustrated at the whole situation, that he was probably promised to something and he felt like that he's been lied to. Okay? We can hear it in the inflection. And you need to say something like this. Mr. Bob, listen, I appreciate that, but I'm not the last agent. Okay? I am the agent who doesn't do what the last agent did, and I understand that. However, and notice I use two phrases here, guys. One phrase doesn't cut it when you're trying to get past deflecting anything negative coming to you. You need to be able to use two of these phrases in order to create the discourse and get past that or get through the deflection. So I said, I appreciate that, but I'm not the last agent. Okay, I'm very honest and candid with them. And I understand that. However, here's what I'm going to do for you. And you're going to see shortly why you want to go with me, because everything I'm going to show you clearly is going to demonstrate that I operate differently. I can offer you more. I'm more professional. And that generally assuages them. So you've deflected that attack and you're getting to what's important to you. Get past that negative. We understand that he is frustrated. The house hasn't sold. He's been promised things and feels lied to, but that wasn't us. So this attack isn't geared toward you. It was geared toward what someone else did. You need to be able to deflect it, move on, and get to what you want to go to. Does that make sense, Bob?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys, here's what I want you to do, okay? I want everyone who has a piece of paper to draw a star in the middle of their paper. Okay? Draw a star in the middle of your paper, wherever it may be. This represents you, the speaker. You're the glue in this deal. You're the real estate agent that's representing your client, and you are keeping this this deal alive. Okay? And you're talking to a client or an agent or a customer, and I want you to draw a box to the right of your star, okay, and put a C in it, either for client or for agent. So you've got your star in the center, you've got your box, and the C to the right represents either client or an A for agent, whichever you want. Okay? You are always representing something as the star in the center. You always represent something to the left, okay, that's in a circle. You might represent a company or a corporation. You might represent a police department. In this case, as agents, we either represent a brokerage, a listing, or your service as a realtor, okay? But you always, always, always represent something. Every time you open your mouth, you represent the left side. And this is part of the essence of verbal judo. Every time you open your mouth, you represent the left side. Okay? I want you to draw a sideways figure 8 beginning at the star, going under the circle, and coming back to the star. So start at the star, that's you. You've opened your mouth, you've said something, you are representing someone. Draw that line around just like Bob did there, and come back to the star. Okay? And we're going to begin to start to draw a sideways figure 8. Coming under the circle, around it, over the top, back to the star, and now we're speaking to the box, doing the verbal judo. And I want you guys to do it exactly as we do it here, and then we're going to do a little exercise. And hopefully that light bulb is going to go off, and you're going to have that aha moment, okay? So start drawing a figure 8. You open your mouth, you come around to the left, back to the right, you're negotiating, you come around to the left, back to the right, you're drawing that sideways figure eight. We're drawing it, we're coming back to the left. And I want you guys to look at what you've drawn. You have to keep going back to the left and right, left and right. Draw a sideways infinity sign, back and forth, until you have something that looks like this, okay? And I want you guys, all of you who participated in this, to look at your drawing and see, does it look like ours? Does it really exactly look like our drawing, okay? And I'm probably going to say most of you out there, and in my experience with this, it doesn't look anywhere near our drawing. And here's why, okay? Where most of you went wrong was rounding off the edges of the box on the right, okay? And the letters in there, the AIU, represent certain emotions or feelings that that client or that customer is under. A might be anger. I might be indecisiveness. U might be, you know, some word that's causing them to send, right, exactly. That's causing them to say this stuff just like Bob did to me. They're under some kind of financial stress, and this is what represents that. What we did was round off the edges using verbal judo. We don't want them to be as square and as rigid as that anymore during negotiations. This is what negotiations are all about, are they not? Less resistance to get more things in my favor, and that's what I want for whose best interest, and I keep saying this over, our clients, okay? So let's stay focused on the drawing here that we just did. What do you notice about the star in the middle? It's disappearing, right? You can maybe see the points on it, but the star is disappearing, okay? You can see all 5 points. You must disappear. This is the essence of this, guys, and the essence of negotiations. You must disappear and become that chameleon. And sometimes people say this to me, Alex, you know, a chameleon's a bad word and all that stuff, and it in my mind it conjures up, you know, something shady or changing color. No, it doesn't. Do chameleons not adapt to their environment in order to be able to survive and get past attacks and predators? This is what you need to do. You need to disappear in the art of negotiations and become that chameleon to get to where you need to get to, okay? What's the point visually? That you must disappear in order to have power over others. And in this case, it could be that other client or whatever the situation may dictate. You need to get that power over them by using verbal judo and words effectively to get this done. If you break the figure eight anywhere along this line, guys, and only you can break it, by the way, the deal becomes ineffective. And you got to start all over again, literally. And there are 3 ways to break the figure eight, okay? 1, if you insult people, you can break the right side. As soon as you insult someone, they dig their heels in. How many of this has this happened to us? You're dealing with another agent, and you present the offer, and that agent, you know, in a nice tone says, your client's a fool if they don't take this offer. It kind of makes you perk up a little and get angry, right? You know your client. You know, they've lived in your neighborhood. You know the husband and wife, and they're nice people, and you dig your heels in. So the moment you insult someone, you've broken the art of the deal, okay? Number 2, how can you break it in the center? That's you. If you let your ego show, if you become narcissistic, the moment you bow up or get angry or start getting frustrated, that's how you can break this cycle in the center. Do not get pulled in personally. Let me say that again. Do not get pulled in personally, okay?
It's so hard, though. You know, it's so hard because everywhere in our lives, we're the center of what we're doing. You know, not everywhere, right? You don't want to, but in a lot of just going about your day, you are the center of that, and you're not you know, you're not hiding, you're not taking yourself out of things or trying to, right? So that's a challenge, I think, for a lot of people.
And I think that's the biggest challenge here for people to use this type of method is to extract themselves and lose focus, right? Because you are, Bob, you're right, we're the center of the world. You need to be able to remove yourself from this situation. Your world right now during the art of this deal is the deal. Nothing else. That's it. Everything else is superfluous, and it's outside that you shouldn't be focusing on. Your world right now is this deal and using this figure eight. Who do I represent every time I open my mouth, and what am I trying to get to? Okay? And then how do you break it on the left side? Okay, this represents the organization, your brokerage. It could represent you as an agent. Poor communication is a huge one. Unprofessionalism. Remember verbal karate over verbal judo? Judo, we're professionals. Mushin, centered. There's a way. There's principles. There's things that we use in order to be able to manage these attacks. Okay, we do that. We remain centered and not get sucked to either the left or the right. Okay, Mushin says learn the art of representation. And do we not as agents represent our interests of our clients? Absolutely. Okay, you are the star, guys. You need to remain that star. Okay, but this is key in understanding how to chip away at all of these things. Okay. Okay, let's talk about calming people down who are angry. Bob gave the early example really quick about, we could hear his inflection and his voice being raised and things like that. There's only really one way to calm people down, and I've been faced with this situation numerous times as a police officer, in special operations, when I was in the military, and even now as a realtor. I just had a situation last week where, my client was really, really frustrated with this situation and was very, very angry. You need to be able to calm people down and do it effectively in order to get to where you want to go. Okay, and we do this one way, and there's only one principle. We be empathetic or show empathy. M is a Latin prefix to see through. Okay, pathy is the Greek suffix for eye of the other. So literally, empathy means to see through the eye of another. And then we can go a step further and say, what is tactical empathy? And you might want to write this down. And what does it absorb? The moment you stop thinking like your real estate client, you lose focus of what's important to them. Okay? Tactical empathy is the ability to project yourself into another only momentarily. To be able to project yourself into another only momentarily. And there's no example anyone can give you where this is ineffective. In anything you do in life, anything, okay? Not as a parent thinking like their children, not as a fighter in a boxing ring thinking like his opponent, and not as a real estate agent thinking like his clients. Remember, empathy absorbs tension, okay? For example, we had that that scenario that Bob gave us where he started getting angry, okay? How many of us have faced this, and most of you are saying out there, oh yeah, I just faced this yesterday or today, and you're nodding. You need to be able to use tactical empathy to get past that frustration of them. Insert yourself, even momentarily, into their shoes, okay? Get past what they're saying and get to what do they mean, all right? Any more questions on tactical empathy and things like that and how important it is, and then being able to understand why it absorbs so much? Think of it, whatever someone's throwing at you as being acid, and you're the base. And you need to diffuse that acid by pouring the base on there and not making it caustic or toxic to the situation, whatever that may be. And a lot of times people or realtors get faced with a situation and they clam up. The moment they hear no or something negative is being thrown at them, they can't seem to get past that, and they go to the scripted method. Okay, what works for me at school? What was I told by others? And they've never really tried anything verbally to be able to get past it for who you are as an agent and the tactics, techniques, and procedures you use to get past that. Okay, it's nothing personal. Stay centered, stay focused, see the attack coming, deflect, okay, and chip away at whatever they're doing using that sideways figure eight. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Okay. Let's talk about a few nuggets. Paraphrasing is huge during the art of negotiations. Huge. I can't tell you enough about how many of us have been to a listing appointment and we've been yelled at, maybe not directly, but indirectly, and kind of the scenario that Bob just gave. That's nothing geared towards you. It's geared toward a situation. And it's a homeowner who's in a situation that he or she doesn't like being in. So again, insert yourself in their shoes, paraphrase, and this is huge in being able to stop that attack, okay? Because you need to be centered and you need to be in that state of motion, all right? By paraphrasing, we use a formula that's very, very clear, okay? It's not in the words, it's in the meanings. It's in the meanings of the words, all right? You have to be able to understand. It's a blend of their meaning and your meaning, okay? You're represented by X. You're in this listing agreement, you're represented by X. The client is represented by Y, okay? So notice, here's the attack coming toward you. That arrow represents the verbal assault that Bob just gave me. You know, the house hasn't sold. I was promised all this stuff, and nothing's moved, and what the hell's going on, and what makes you different? That's what that arrow represents. But you really need to get to, okay, what do they mean, all right? What do they mean? There's a meaning behind that assault, and there's a key phrase we use here, and that is, you give it back to them to ensure that they've been heard and understood correctly. And that is, you are blank or you're blank because of blank. True? And that's what they say, okay? So let me give you an example. Let me just pull up my handy-dandy example here. You have to be disinterested during this verbal assault, okay, guys? Notice what we did. We took a two-person conversation and injected a third person. Now it becomes a three-person conversation, okay? That's what that meaning is, okay? And by saying this, where you're blank because of blank true, it puts them almost at ease, and it makes them stop and listen to what you're saying. So Bob, let me understand this. You're angry because of what the previous agent did, correct or true? And it's going to cause Bob to immediately stop the verbal assault and really listen to say, aha, because they want to prove you wrong. They want to prove you wrong to say, you didn't listen and you don't understand what I'm telling you, okay? This is key, paraphrasing. It stops them dead in their tracks.
I mean, it also lets them understand that you were hearing them, right? And you were able to empathize with them because you clearly came to the meaning based on the fact that you used tactical empathy, right?
Correct.
There's no other way you would have been able to got their true meaning had you not been able to insert yourself into their situation.
And the moment they see that, you build common ground, okay? The goal here is to build common ground. When you're being attacked, they're on the higher ground attacking you. You need to build that common ground and get to the root of what's important to them. Insert yourself in their shoes, deflect the attack or the verbal assault, okay, and get behind that to see what the meaning is to create a third-person conversation. And that's what you're essentially doing here by paraphrasing. You're blank because of blank. True or correct? So, Bob, you're angry because of what the last agent did. Am I correct in understanding that? No, I'm not angry because of what that last agent did. I'm angry because of what they didn't do. Oh, okay, so you're frustrated then by what they did, but you're really angry because of what they didn't do. Yeah. And see how it starts bringing them down? Okay? You empathize with them, you paraphrase, and you got to the crux of what is important to them by creating a third-person conversation here and eliminating that two-person conversation. Okay? And that brings us to the sword of interruption, guys. That is what you literally just did. The sword of interruption, when you paraphrase like that, will stop most people who are going off on a tangent like that and attacking anything you might be saying or trying to say or any place you're trying to get to, okay? That stops them dead in their tracks. When you get to, so let me understand correctly what you're saying. Now they want to stop and see, they're listening to me. Is what they're saying or going to repeat to me exactly what's frustrating me? That's the sword of interruption. Let me see if I understand you then. Use that phrase on people all day long. It will stop them. Let's really quick talk about effectively presenting options. Okay. During negotiations in real estate, are we ever faced with another agent or a situation where we're told, nope, ain't going to happen, or not going to do it? You right away see that, or you're at a listing and you're going in trying to get this listing, and you really want this listing. It's $1 million house. It's the first time you're going to break into $1 million listing. You're just as nervous as they are, and you get to the proverbial, what's our house worth? Okay? And you tell the husband and wife, well, based on my comps in the area, guys, everything I've done, talking with other agents, doing my due diligence, we believe that this house should be listed on the market for X, whatever that price is. And you see the husband shift in his seat, and the wife looks over nervously, okay? You need to see the context here, and there are 3 easy steps in order to be able to see or present options. Step 1, simply ask, okay? Simply ask and write these down. Based on what I presented to you, is this what you thought your house was worth? This will set the context for what they're saying, but more importantly, what they're thinking. It's going to elicit a response, okay? It might not be good, but at least you can get to the base of what they're thinking. And it'll also set the tone for the conversation. Step 2, tell people why. When you give people options, tell them why. Set the professional context. Use verbal judo and not verbal karate, okay? We use professional words and act like professionals as real estate agents. Step number 3, and it's a universal sign of respect. When you ask people and tell them why, okay, why you did something, it's a universal sign of respect. Everyone would rather be asked than told what to do, would they not? I speak 5 languages, for example, guys. I've been all over the world. Doing the police stuff. Anytime you tell someone, or those of you with kids out there, what do? They dig their heels in even more. Never tell someone, okay? Give them options. It's a sign of respect in all cultures, all right? And this will apply to the yes, no, and maybe person. The yes person, we know where they stand. The no person, we know we have to work that much more harder. And then we're really only concerned with the maybe person as it pertains to verbal judo. Did you guys know that 7 out of 10 people will do things the first time, or they will begin to capitulate or give in to what you want if you just tell them why you're doing what you're doing? Ask them, is this what you thought? Okay? Tell them why you're doing what you're doing, okay? And then show them a universal sign of respect by being professional, by staying centered, okay? By maintaining the art of the deal. It does 3 things, and this is really quick, the last takeaway, guys, that this does when you present people options. It does 3 things, and write these down. It establishes your credentials. Number 2, it establishes your credibility. And number 3, it establishes your character. And these are all huge, right? Are they not? Your credentials, your credibility, and your character in real estate. Okay? And really quick, the 4 secrets to presenting the options, and if you don't use all 4, you're ineffective. Number 1 is voice. What's your tone? Is it calm? Is it friendly? When you give options, number 2, always put the positive first, then the negative, and then remind them of the positive. Positive first, followed by the negative, followed by the positive. Number 3, be specific. Generalities will lose you the deal and make it go sideways quicker because you're not being specific. When you talk in vagueness and in gray areas, when you're dealing with smart business people, they will immediately tap into that and make the deal go sideways to you or try to gain leverage over you. And finally, number 4, WIFM. W-I-F-M. What's in it for me? Most of us have heard this, right? And I'd say in life, are most people selfish? And this is kind of an open question, yes or no? I would say yes. So the principle of negotiation is you have to give in order to get. You have to have equal power, and you have to give it in order to get back what you want. And only you know what that is, okay? By using verbal judo, by springboarding past the attack, by using those key phrases, by getting to the but. I understand that, but, and all these things that will get you, that person that was the box, around it as you chip away and make them become more circle and come back to center to get the core back to you and get the deal to where you want it to go. So that's pretty much it, Bob. I mean, I could keep going on really, really more. And really quick, guys, to recap. So we decided that there's 2 types of tactical language, natural and tactical. Okay, we've said natural is ineffective. It's what we use every day. So therefore, we have to use some kind of tactical language. Okay, the triple me method, the maximum effectiveness using maximum efficiency with minimal effort. Our time's important. We need to leverage that, and we need to get past the deals that, quite frankly, sometimes you have to walk away from. Okay, we know that empathy absorbs tension. The art of deflection, I appreciate that, but remember, you always have to use but, and you have to use 2 or more of those phrases in order to effectively get past that and springboard you to where you want to go. Get out of the quicksand, get to firm ground, get to the other side. And the figure 8, gaining a favorable outcome, okay? Remember, Every time you open your mouth, you represent the left side. You represent someone, something, okay? And it affects the right side. And remember, we can break that figure eight along 3 ways of that path, and only one person can break it, and that's you. And then finally, the 4 nuggets: calming people down, the sword of interruption, paraphrasing, and effectively presenting options.
Alex, man, that is some good stuff. You know what? As I sit here and I'm going to jump in and look and see what some of the questions are, and we'll spend a few minutes answering questions. I think it seems to me like most people are using aspects of this or maybe understand aspects of it, but I think it's when you kind of look at the whole concept together where you really start to understand the power of it. Because, like, as an agent, I think they're trying to present options, right? Like, if you have somebody, give you an offer on a home and you take it to your clients and they're like, no, this is just not going to work, and we don't even want a counter offer, like, you probably are going to try to say, well, here's a couple of options of ways that we could counter, or there's so many of these principles I think we use them, we just don't realize we're using them, and we're definitely not using them in concert.
Bob, that's an excellent point. I think every person on this call today has used these, and sometimes you don't know you're using them. It takes being it pointed out this way to say, you know what, I've used that before. Now, when you bring them together to effectively understand the steps and the principles, or remember the tactics, techniques, and procedures I said, it'll allow you to get to the heart of this very quickly and effectively understand what's at stake here, what do I need to focus on, what's important to these people, and it's just a matter of understanding. Guys, Google after this class, they give this class at Columbia Business School, at the Columbia School of Business for grad students. They give this class, The Art of Verbal Judo, to business students going out into the business world. It's that important. Once you understand all these key things and the nuggets that I gave you, and you start applying it, you're going to see your time spent at a listing agreement where you're trying to convince them to give you the listing is going to go from an hour to 20 minutes. Your client or that deal that's been pushed back on you before because you used natural language and not tactical language, now you're able to get concessions for your client where you never thought you could possibly get this done. Or you cringe at the fact that, oh, I got to go back and tell my client they said no on this, or they don't want to give in to cleaning the pool, which is $4,000. Now you can go back to your client and say, you know what, I got you the pool cleaned for $4,000 or something fixed. You know how that makes you look to that client? It springboards you to the new stratosphere of agents.
There's a couple of really good questions in here. So we're almost at the end of the hour. Alex, can you stick around for maybe 3 or 4 more minutes to answer a couple of these really kind of poignant questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you guys are obviously free to go. It's your time.
And Bob, can I interject real quick?
Sure.
So guys, and I apologize for doing this. This is not a spiel. This is purely to give you tools to hopefully get this deal done. My focus as an agent is working with vets and disabled vets and getting them homes, guys. All I ask is at the end of this, we're working on our Facebook webpage to be able to help disabled and homeless vets here in Phoenix. Our Facebook page is called Semper Find My Home, after the Marine Corps motto, Semper Fi. Once it's up within the next week, if you guys could just like us to be able to help these vets who are taking lowered commissions to be able to help them get closing costs, I would greatly appreciate it. Semper Find My Home. Like us on Facebook. And guys, any questions, please feel free to call me or email me anytime on Active Rain.